Hey friends, it's Nikayla from the podcast Side Hustle Pro. I'm always looking for ways to keep my kids entertained without screens, and the Yoto Mini has been a total lifesaver. My kids are obsessed. Yoto is a screen-free audio player where kids just pop in a card and listen. Hours of stories, music, podcasts, and more, and no screens or ads. With hundreds of options for ages 0 to 12, it's the perfect gift they'll go back to again and again. Check it out at yotoplay.com. YOTOPLAY.com.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to day 11 of 31 days of Halloween. I've got 4 spooky stories to share today. Are you ready for the first story? The time I heard shrieking in the woods. When I was 17, my parents were in the process of building their first greenhouse. It wasn't very big, but it was functional. We used it to grow plants like snapdragon, basil, tomatoes, strawberries, and so much more. They also had recently, at the time, added a few fruit trees, mostly peaches and apples, but there were 2 other fruit trees that hadn't been planted in the outside earth yet. They were infamous for drying off randomly, tangerine and lemon, if anyone is wondering. So we were keeping them in the greenhouse to hopefully stabilise. One shelf of the greenhouse contained the plants that my teenage self was obsessed with and subsequently cared for. 4 potted dusty millers, 3 potted purple-white pansies, a succulent and a mimicry plant that looked like a horseshoe. Still have no idea what the heck kind of plant it is. Next to the greenhouse was a little fenced patch of dirt that my mum planned to use for crops once they began sprouting. For some context, I've lived south of the Appalachian Mountains my whole life, close enough that I'm scared to leave my house at night, but far enough that I'd never personally heard anything before this incident. I always take my dogs with me when I venture outside. Important. One of my big dogs always wears a GPS tracking collar because he can and will disappear for hours, and it's terrifying to think we might never see him again. Very important. This kind of collar has an electric field that warns him against leaving the yard. Now, to get into the meat of the story, it was about 6 in the afternoon on an early spring day, so the sun was relatively low in the sky. I was inside the greenhouse, watering my shelf of plants. My dogs were much closer to the house than me, so I was basically in the woods alone. The greenhouse is barely 10 feet from the tree line. As I'm caring for the plants, I hear cracking in the woods. I freeze, knowing there was no one else around me. Then it starts. Horrible sounds coming from the woods. It sounded like a horse trying to mimic a child's screams of joy, but it was wrong. Too high-pitched, too scratchy, and it kept looping in this strange way. The sounds made the hair on my arms stand straight up, but overall, it was far too close for my superstitious teenage self. I knew the rules by heart. I finished watering the plant I was looking at, pretending to check the others, and deemed them fine, then began quietly putting things back where they belonged. The greenhouse was covered in fogged up plastic, so anything out there would have seen nothing but my shadow. I carefully left the greenhouse, locking the door behind me. I wasted no time in climbing the hill towards the house, not looking back. My dog, War, noticed me and started walking towards me. Out of nowhere, he began sprinting and snarling. It was the first and only time I had feared my dog. He's always been a giant baby, but that day I felt nothing but instinctual terror. Before I could react, he was gone. He disappeared into the woods and he vanished for 6 days. I honestly thought whatever I heard had done him in. He eventually showed back up, and now he has a nasty scar through his left eye. The vet told us it wouldn't interfere with his sight, but it was very noticeable. To this day, he stays close enough to touch me when I go near the greenhouse. There was only one other time he ever reacted, though. When I looked, I could have sworn I saw a goat staring at me. Funny, considering there is not a single goat in my very sparse neighbourhood. That is creepy, isn't it? Something calling when you're just minding your own business, looking after your plants. And the poor dog disappearing for 6 days. What on earth happened? I really need to know. I just imagine Luna running off, and if she disappeared for 6 days, I'd be mortified. Are you ready for the second story? Saw a gnome-like creature about 2 years ago when I was living at my mum's house. Curious about it. I live in southern Illinois near Missouri, in a decently sized town. It's not a big city, but it's not rural or anything. You just pulled up into the driveway where I am now facing the backyard. It's got a white fence that you can clearly see through. It's more meant to just be a border than have any privacy. Like 3 bushes along that fence, and then we had a back porch. Now, I'd just taken my glasses off to clean them with my shirt, but I was still looking ahead. The backyard is pretty, and we have a cherry blossom in the back that was finally showing for the little time it does in the year. Now, I'm certainly not blind without my glasses. Just don't ask me to read things far away. It was only about 10 feet away from the fence line in front of me where I saw it run from behind a bush under the back deck. It's way too small a space for a person to get under, and I know it well because my cat has gotten herself under there once, and it took me 2 hours to get her to come out. I ended up having to take some of the deck up. Anyways, it was a paler-skinned creature. Definitely human-like skin. No pointy hat or nothing. I could tell it was wearing clothing, certainly. From my judgment, it looked like a really small human male. Properly proportioned to be that size, 2 feet and some inches tall. Hair on the head, and I swear some facial hair. Anyways, it was most certainly on 2 legs. That's what threw me so hard, and I could never just brush it off fully. There's absolutely no way it didn't make a mad dash on 2 legs in a way no 4-legged creature would be able to, no matter how much it had trained to do so. I tried to look for it under the deck, but couldn't see more than half of the space under the deck, if that. I could hear it panting, breathing heavily once again, in a way I wouldn't expect an animal to. I even tried talking to it, coaxing it out, but I felt crazy and was worried about the neighbours seeing me. I went inside and never saw anything like it again. This one did make me feel uncomfortable, even though I think it sounds like one of the fairy folk, you know? But hiding, and flitting in and out, no thank you. No thank you. I'm going under the decking. No thank you. Are you ready for the third story? So I just had the scariest encounter of my life. I live alone in a room with a chair beside the bed, and I just woke up to the absolute certainty that someone was in my room. I was wide awake, and a figure was sitting on the stool by my bed. They were smaller than a normal human, so it was weird to me, like 3/4 or half the size, and had long hair. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman's energy. I was dead set this was a real person, and I was so scared, so I sat up and was talking to them, saying, "Hi, who are you? What do you want?" And they were just staring at me. I reached for my phone, which was on my bed, and was so shocked when I put the torch on this person, preparing for them to be a real, actual human, and they were just gone. Nothing there. I'm still in a state of fear, stroke, shock, and can barely move, so just sat with my phone torch at this chair for minutes before I could look around and see that nothing was in the room. I asked the spirit to leave if it wasn't here for my highest good and tried to close off my energy, but I'm feeling pretty crazy right now. I had the sense that the spirit had been invited in by me and that it was waiting to watch me in some way. It was curious. I also bought a necklace carved by bone from an ancient temple today in the shape of a skull, and I'm wearing it and wondering if it's in any way connected. This sounds as crazy to me as it probably does to you. Any insights about similar experiences or tips stroke advice would be hugely appreciated right now. And this sounds like another fairy folk to me, sitting on the stool, but don't do that. Just like, staring at you when you're sleeping, or it thinks you're sleeping. What were you waiting to do? Are you ready for the fourth and final story? The old hospital. I'll try and keep this short, so please forgive the length. To protect the building itself, since it still exists and it's vacant, I won't share its name, and I'll be vague on location, but the story is true. I've been an EMT going on 19 years. In those years, I worked for many a different ambulance agency. One agency I worked for was a hospital-based 911/inter-facility ambulance provider. Because it was owned and run by a hospital company, many of our stations were in the hospitals themselves. One of these hospitals was a small rural hospital in a very small town in New Jersey. Years ago, smaller hospital companies, like the one I worked for, were struggling financially, and larger corporations came in to buy out the smaller ones. When the company came in, it decided to close permanently this hospital. It was a gradual closure. First, they shut down medical floors and other services, but kept the ER open, but only during normal business hours. This too was shut down months later. Our station here was unaffected, and we had 24/7 access to this now empty of human hospital. While this wasn't a full-time station of mine, I did work out of there on a handful of occasions before they sold the building and moved the station elsewhere. Imagine a hospital empty of anyone except one small office for an EMS crew. Everything was still in the hospital rooms and offices, just lacking us humans. It was creepy having this building, once full of life and energy, now silent and dormant. Anyways, I come in one morning and the ambulance crew I would be relieving was out still. I get to the station around 4:45 a.m. for a 5 a.m. clock-in time. It was my first time at this station, and like many other humans, I was curious about what this empty hospital was like. So since I had time, I started walking around the old hallways, silent and just admiring what the building once was. I walk into the old chapel, ICU, and other areas briskly to not forget I'm actually there to work soon. The EMS office was just located off the main entrance and waiting room. I'm walking back to the EMS office to punch in. As I'm walking back, I start hearing whispering. Clear as day, whispering voices. At first I couldn't tell where they were coming from until I started getting closer to the waiting room. They got louder, but still whispers. I was thinking, okay, maybe the one security guard that they had staffed was sitting in there on the phone, being silent. As I walked into the dark waiting room, nothing, no one, and the voices stopped. I punch in, and not much of my time was spent there during the day. Days later, I work there again. This time I'm working with someone else who has also never worked there before. Like me, she was just as curious about the building. I took her around the areas I knew and told her about what I witnessed only a few days earlier. We are once again walking back to our office near the waiting room. We're just talking when she interrupts me and asks me if I heard something. I didn't, but the silence revealed what she was hearing. Once again, we start hearing whispering voices, clear voices, but not hearing what is being said. As we tried to find the source this time, it was coming from an old office just outside the waiting room. As we walk in, there's nothing, it's empty, except for a desk. The voices stopped again. It was amazing that I had someone there to tell me I wasn't just hearing things, and witnessed what I did. After that, I never had a chance to work out there again, as the hospital building got sold and the station was relocated elsewhere. This building still exists to this day, vacant and waiting for redevelopment, I suppose. The last time I drove by it, it was untouched, surprisingly.
Hey friends, it's Nikayla from the podcast Side Hustle Pro. I'm always looking for ways to keep my kids entertained without screens, and the Yoto Mini has been a total lifesaver. My kids are obsessed. Yoto is a screen-free audio player where kids just pop in a card and listen. Hours of stories, music, podcasts, and more, and no screens or ads. With hundreds of options for ages 0 to 12, it's the perfect gift they'll go back to again and again. Check it out at yotoplay.com. YOTOPLAY.com.
I'm Dr. Sarah Rahal, the founder and CEO of Armra. I developed Armra Colostrum because I know your body was designed to thrive. It's your natural state, your birthright, and you can reclaim it. Colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life, with every essential nutrient our bodies need. It's nature's original blueprint for health. After a devastating health crisis almost took my life, I made it my mission to harness this power. Using proprietary technology, Armra captures over 400 bioactive nutrients in every scoop, delivering over 1,000 benefits that transform your health at its foundation. Whether for gut health, metabolism, skin, hair, immunity, mood, energy, fitness, or recovery, I invite you to join this collective revival of health and discover radical transformation for yourself. Visit armor.com, that's ARMRA.com, and enter code CULTURE30 for 30% off your first subscription order. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
These are one of my favourites, listening to stories from emergency services, EMTs in America. I love them because they see some strange stuff and hear some strange stuff. Old hospital, take me there. It's one of those stories that makes me think, yeah, I want to do that. It's like when I want to be a long distance truck driver or a CCTV watcher so I can see all the spooky stuff happening. But that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Hey friends, it's Nikayla from the podcast Side Hustle Pro. I'm always looking for ways to keep my kids entertained without screens, and the Yoto Mini has been a total lifesaver. My kids are obsessed. Yoto is a screen-free audio player where kids just pop in a card and listen. Hours of stories, music, podcasts, and more, and no screens or ads. With hundreds of options for ages 0 to 12, it's the perfect gift they'll go back to again and again. Check it out at yotoplay.com. YOTOPLAY.com.